Perfect. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us today. I just want to check with the speakers again that you can still see my screen.
We
Great.
can move.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, thank you very much. So, good morning, everyone, and it's a pleasure to have you join us today for our webinar, The Power of Mentorship in Your Organization. Today, we'll be talking about our program, the Mentor Training with Edelia, Learning. We'll be hearing from the facilitator, Aodan Enright, about the program itself. Anne O'Connell as well. She'll be taking us through the importance of mentorship in the medtech sector. And then we'll be hearing from our alumni speakers as well. So we have Lorraine Keane from Boston Scientific today, Mary Devery from Aztec Medical, and Adrian Hogan. And I'm afraid Adrian's camera is not working today, but he is still with us. So he's from Johnson & Johnson as well. So without further ado, I'd like to pass you on to Anne O'Connell, who will be hosting our session today. And after our speakers are finished, we will have a chance for a Q&A session. So any of your questions you can pop into the chat as well. If you have any problems with technical issues or anything like that, I'll share my email address into the chat and you can just let me know and I'll try and sort those out for you as well. Okay, so thanks very much, Anne. I'll pass over to yourself.
Thanks very much, Niamh. And as Niamh has said, we'd like to welcome everybody here this morning. And we are here to speak about the Professional Mentor Accredited training program that we have developed and delivered through the Irish Medtech Skillnet in partnership with Edelia Learning. So really delighted with this opportunity to be here to speak to everybody this morning. And I want to, I suppose, go back to the start and to also acknowledge all of the alumni from different industries who are here and who are given their time this morning to speak about the program and their experience on the program. Because I think when you come onto a webinar, there's nothing like hearing the experience of other industry people from their experience of a program. So it's really great to have our three industry alumni here this morning to speak to us on this. So first and foremost, I want to go back to the why we developed this program and how we ended up developing this program. And we had direction from our steering committee because we had a certain management and we had direction from our steering committee within the Irish Medtech Skillnet at the time to say, we really think you need to do something around the whole mentorship side of the house. And I worked in industry for 15 years and I have been a mentee and I've acted as a mentor. But having the support as a mentor, I think, is really, really important. And knowing what being a mentor actually means. I think that piece of it is really, really important also. So I know that I would have definitely appreciated having a program like this when I was in this position within industry. But you need mentors throughout your whole way through your career. And I think, and you need to be either in the position of being a mentor or be a mentee. And an example of this really, I was reminded of this when we were talking about this webinar, and I was thinking about maybe 3 years ago, 2 to 3 years ago, one of the companies that are part of our network, their HR director reached out to me because they had a new site manager or a person who was going to move into their site manager role. And that person wanted somebody that would mentor them within their site manager role. So to help support them to grow and learn and develop, as that's what the role of being a mentor is. It's helping people grow, learn and develop and support. And I suppose also to maintain your accountability within your role. So there's all these parts to it. And they wanted a site manager from a different company to mentor them in their role and to help and support them grow into the role that they were moving into. So mentorship starts at a very, I suppose, young age within companies. And then as you're changing roles, you need a mentor to help you. So when we developed and we thought about this program originally, we were thinking about the mentees. We weren't necessarily thinking about the mentors. But then as we thought about it and as we spoke to our over 20 people on our steering committee, they all recommended actually it's the mentors you need to focus on because they will help the mentees, but they also need the support of a mentorship program. So with the professional mentorship training program, with Edelia Learning, we've been really in a fortunate position to be able to co-create, really develop the co-creation of the mentor-mentee relationship, building that self-awareness as a mentor. What do I need to do? Developing a peer network. And I know there's been a huge amount of feedback have come back from all of the alumni about the strength of the peer network that is within this program. And it's so important that we maintain and keep that. And as I say, with Edelia Learning, who have been really, really supportive to develop out this program, and with all of their years of experience, and we'll hear from Aodan after this, that training program that we really believe supports people to become really comprehensive, good, supported mentors. And as well as that, I think the importance of always knowing that if there is any queries or any questions that you have or any support that you have within the program, you can always reach out to the Irish Medtech Skillnet as well. So, and I would also really like to acknowledge, the alumni here today who are giving of their time from their own jobs to speak on the program. And I think it's a mark of the program that they are here today, but I also think it's a mark of the people that are here from industry today to speak of the program as well. So I'd like to acknowledge that. And we will delve further into their experience in a panel session. And I would invite all the people that are on the call that want to learn more about this program to please put as many questions as you like into the chat, and myself and Niamh will endeavour to make sure we see all the questions and follow up with the panel when we go through that session. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Aodan Enright from Edelia Learning. Thanks, Aodan.
Thanks very much, Anne, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for sharing an hour with us this morning, and to those who are watching on the recording. What I'd like to do just for the next few minutes is bring you through some of the background, perhaps, on the mentoring program that Anne has spoken about, and maybe some of the learnings that we've picked up as facilitators and designers of the program that may be of interest to you. And I'm conscious we have a lot of people watching this that are keen and interested in participating in the next program and programs that are coming in the following year, and are wondering, what is it all about? Who are these guys? So hopefully we'll answer a lot of those questions this morning, and also give you maybe something else to think about from a mentoring perspective. Okay. So I guess one of the points that I would really like to get across just in the few minutes that I have this morning is that sometimes we look at mentoring as almost kind of an abstract thing, or a thing that we have to do, or something that's like an extra job, because all of us are busy. We all have full calendars. We're under pressure. But it is worth remembering that mentoring is very much part of a time-honored way of human progress and development. Okay, so as a species, how we have developed over millennia and how we have evolved is through learning from experience. And when we allow ourselves to be in a position to be open to learning, especially from and with people who have traveled a path ahead of us, then all manner of wisdom is generated, and all manner of opportunity can be opened up. So people actively involved in mentoring activity really are joining a proud lineage of human support. How can I help you? How can I be helpful? How can I help you avoid the kind of mistakes that I have scar tissue from how can I help you understand the complexities of things that you're stepping into as you grow. So, we really are doing nothing more than just being humans in the sense of sharing or learning and facilitating that progress that we all collectively enjoy and need, possibly. Now, one thing that comes up a lot, and again, I'm just conscious I only have a few minutes this morning, is when we're out and about working with companies, we often run into what I would describe as some stubborn myths about mentoring. And often the most common one is something along the lines of, oh, great, yeah, mentoring. How do I get involved in that? I have so much to tell people. Or wait now till I get a chance to inform/bore all these young people with all the great stories of daring do from my times when I was conquering the universe and all this kind of stuff. So like a classic approach to I'm going to now label it as ineffective mentoring is moving into a posture of, well, now, sit down there, young person. Let me tell you about all the things that you need to be doing or not doing. And oh, wait till you hear this time when I save the universe and all this kind of stuff. Well, the single biggest challenge with that kind of approach is that it is coming from the mentor. So in the work that we do, one of the big, I would call it principles of effective mentoring is to see the entire process from the perspective of the mentee. So when we use the word mentee, that's the person receiving the mentoring. So when we speak about being mentee driven, that means we need to understand what is it that our mentees need? What is their context? What are their requirements? What's their environment? And from there, start working with them to facilitate their learning journey. So that's a classic stubborn myth that we get out there. But when you get involved in professional mentor training, one of the first keys is understanding that this is a mentee-driven process. The other big point that's worth making, and again, we've seen this across organizations and across industries, is that we tend to be highly influenced by our mentors. And not just from a perspective of how do I do this? Now that I've been working with this mentor, I'm better at doing X, Y, or Z. But it's also what I would describe as the kind of behavioral or cultural elements, like how should I be in a particular environment, or how should I be in this company? How should I relate to others? And those kind of habits are highly contagious, right? So given that contagion, it's very important that when we are actively working as professional mentors and building out mentoring programs within our organizations, that we are inculcating useful and effective mentoring habits, okay? And not spreading the kind of habits that cause stress and ineffectiveness. So great mentoring practices tend to be a catalyst for positive cultural growth within an organization, because these are the kind of conversations that tend to happen off camera or behind the scenes or outside of the mainstream. These kind of mentoring relationships are always, when we're on our own, when we're chatting. So those are those kind of crucial touch points that we have with people that allow us to build culture. So that's again a very important point. Now, just to talk about and to pick up on some of the comments from Anne about the program that we're involved in the medtech industry. Over the last couple of years, we've learned a lot through basically iterating our way into the program that we have today, and that is starting in the next few weeks. Because what we did was, as Anne mentioned, we co-created the program over several iterations through a pilot scheme, And we were very much went in with ears and eyes and everything open. What is it that works for you, right? So a lot of our work practices have changed in the recent years. Obviously, the biggest one being the remote and online piece of it, which dramatically, of course, affects our ability to get that kind of informal or formal mentoring, given that we spend so much time separated. But what we've learned over that time are there are certain things that come up repeatedly that are important for people. So very quickly, some of those things would be that we have a globally recognized qualification, right? So in an EMCC accredited qualification arising from the program, which, and I'll briefly refer to this in a few minutes, but also involves this concept of prior learning recognition, because many of us have been working whether formally or informally in mentoring capacities, both within our professional roles and maybe outside our professional roles, and getting credit for that rather than this idea of starting on the bottom rung of the ladder or whatever that means. As Anne mentioned, one of the innovations, I guess, in the program is that we have specific training and ongoing support for the mentees, so the people receiving the support from the mentors going through the program. And again, we learn an awful lot from that. And we also learn a lot from visiting each site. So we've had so many different organizations involved in this program, and we've been able to visit the sites, understanding what's going on, what's practically useful, and so on. One huge benefit as we've gone through multiple cohorts of the program is that we have now developed this strong and active alumni network. So one of the benefits, I guess, of just working within the industry is that we've been able to tap into the diversity of organization type, or just the nature of the operations that people have, and we've learned a lot. All the people involved in the alumni network, and we're lucky to have 3 here this morning, and we're constantly working to support them post-program. So some people it's 18 months since they've had their professional mentor training program, but they're still involved in what we call peer mentoring, and we do CPD support and so on. So as Anne said, you're never without someone to help you along on your journey. And another point related to what we've learned from what people value is that we've expanded the aperture a bit on the lens, and we found that people love this idea of performance in mentoring. So we've integrated a lot of best practice performance principles from our training and coaching faculty, including the red to blue framework, which students really like. So these are some of the things that we've found over the multiple cycles of the program that we've refined just to make the program more effective for people. Very quickly, I'm just going to pull back the curtain here now and just give you a sense of how does this thing actually work. So practically, it's an 11-week program, okay? And how we run it, and again, this has changed over time, but students love the in-person contact. So we have 3 in-person days, okay? So we start and end with an in-person day, and halfway through the program, we also come back and spend a day together. And those are the days that the students tell us that they enjoy the most, that they get the most from, because of the quality, I guess, of human contact, okay, that we spoke about earlier. And then in between, we also have 2 half-day online classes in between the middle in-person day. And then we have a weekly opportunity outside of those sessions where people can check in on various tutorial topics, depending on their needs and so on. And again, we've seen that this has evolved effectively. We are so conscious that we're all busy. Every single one of us has an overflowing inbox and has to get on to the next thing. So we have really focused on making this program as time efficient as humanly possible. And every minute is carefully planned. So you might see on the right side of that screen as well that there what we call chemistry sessions and mentoring sessions. And basically those are the expectations that you will have 2 or 3 sessions with your mentee as you go through the program. And again, there's no point in wasting time doing things like role play or pretending about scenarios that might arise. We have real life mentees, we have real life challenges ourselves. Let's work on those with through the process itself. So this is a very, very quick, I'm not going to get into this, just give you a very quick view of one way of representing a mentoring process. And you'll see a couple of words there that you may or may not be familiar with, one being chemistry, which I mentioned a while ago. How well can we get on with our potential mentees? And also this idea of contracting, which really is what I would describe as small C contracting. What is it that we are here to do? And this, again, going through the formal training, or sorry, the structured training of the program allows you to build all manner of skills in how to do all of this good stuff effectively. Just wanted to very quickly reference the accreditation options, which we mentioned earlier. There are 4 options, really, depending on how much mentoring you need to do or want to do, or depending on your experience. But most of our alumni, in fact, nearly all, focus on options 3 or 4, which is the professional mentor qualification, either at foundation or practitioner level. And the difference really is how many mentoring hours can you log or show as evidence and so on. And we help you through that entire process from start, middle, and ongoing over the years and so on afterwards. Typically, we find that people have a lot more mentoring experience than they might fear. Okay, so we've seen that we've been able to recognize that prior learning very effectively. We've had companies from across the medtech industry and from others as well. And we're delighted that we have 3 representatives of those companies here with us this morning, which I'm about to hand over to. But just to give you another sneak peek, these are some of the concepts that resonate most strongly with the students that we found through the various programs. So as you can see, we blend very much psychology with kind of structured process and getting into what is performance in the mentoring role. So there are many things that we can immediately apply, not just when we're mentoring, but apply also to our professional roles in our day-to-day work and so on. So it is a very varied program, but it is extremely time efficient and carefully designed. As I say, the evolution of the design has allowed us to be really clear on what people would need and value. Okay, so that's just my few bits, just giving you a sense of what the program is about and where it's come from. At Edelia, we've been delighted to partner with the Irish Medtech Skillnet over the last couple of years to co-create and constantly evolve this program. So as Anne and Niamh have said, you may have questions in terms of how this thing works or anything that I've spoken about in the last few minutes. And please capture those in the chat and we'll get to those in a minute. But that, as they say, is all for
Thank
me
you,
from
Aodan.
now.
Aodan, actually, before I hand over to Lorraine Keane, who's our first speaker from an industry perspective, I'm just going to come in on one of the pieces that you talked to there, because I think if you could just even slightly just stretch it out a little bit, the red to blue concept, because I know you have it there on the slide. Just briefly, if you could just kind of give a little bit more insight into that. And I know the speakers will talk through too, but I just wanted to get your piece. So I'm taking advantage of being on camera and being able to do this.
No problem, man. So yeah, very quickly, the red to blue concept is a very useful psychological approach that Edelia, our partners of the company that's kind of brought this to the market, Gazing. A lot of people may be familiar with the red to blue approach from the All Blacks rugby team, because there was an awful lot of publicity when they employed one of their the psychologists that came up basically with this very simple way of understanding what happens to our minds when we come under pressure. Okay, so it really is about performing under pressure. So very quickly, this red state is when we are diverted, we're off task, we're struggling, we're not sure what's happening. And the blue state is when we are clearly on task, we're focused on what needs to be done, and we're just doing what needs to be done. So we've integrated those concepts, and there's a lot more behind it, obviously, into the program. Because why? Because sometimes when we're in a mentoring session, we can get very diverted. We're like, oh my God, I'm not sure what, should I be asking a question here? Or jeepers, I don't know how to deal with what the person has just brought up. And we can get into these loops of self-doubt or distraction or worrying about, oh, what's the next thing I need? None of which is valuable to the mentee, because the mentee just needs us to be there, to be listening, and to be understanding what's going on for them. So it's a concept, again, in psychology that we sometimes talk about as interference. There's stuff that's going on in our own heads, which is preventing us from just dealing effectively with the person in front of us. So the red to blue concept, I guess, is just a very simple visual way of trying to capture when we are off task. So you'll see on the slide there this idea of recognizing, when am I distracted, am I diverted, am I losing it here? And then accepting that's what's going on and choosing to bring our attention, because it's ultimately all about controlling our attention. How do I bring my attention back to what's required? So that was a quick postage stamp express 2-minute version of what that is. There are multiple tools and frameworks underpinning that red to blue system that we use through all our clients, not just in mentoring, but across our corporate portfolio. So it's very useful, and the students love it because it's immediately applicable, and we use it ourselves. I mean, I use it myself every day. So
no, great.
That's that,
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, Aidan. And I love the comment at the bottom as well, no fault divorce. I don't know how, but I know what it means in this context. So that's really
yes,
useful. But yeah, I
we'll
don't
get
think
into
in the outside world, I don't think it might be as applicable, but in the mentoring
that.
world
Okay.
it is. So thanks very much. So I'm going to hand over now, first of all, to Lorraine Keane, Senior Process Development Engineer with Boston Scientific. And really, Lorraine, I suppose we're asking yourself, Adrian and Mary, to speak on just reflections of your experience and the impact of the programme, and appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anne, and good morning to everybody on this call. So my name is Lorraine Keane, and I've been working at Boston Scientific in Clonmel for about 7 years. And I would say that I've come across mentoring, coaching over the last 10 years. And for me, it's been hugely impactful in my career. I think I've had a couple of really good mentors, I would say maybe in the last 7 years after joining Boston Scientific as well, who have helped me like transition into different roles within the company. And it's led to very interesting conversations, things that maybe I wouldn't have thought about before. So luckily enough, there is a mentorship program active and well at the Clonmel site, which I have joined as well, and helped pair mentors with mentees. I would say from a site level, it's very well supported. When I went on this Edelia course, probably about a year ago, I was given the okay to attend. So work was covered for me on the in-person days, and I was able to take some time out of my day on the Tuesdays to call into like the 2-hour sessions. So it just made the overall like attendance on this course like just so much more enjoyable, knowing that it was site supported as well. I'd say one of kind of there was a lot of key takeaways for me. For one thing, it led to a really good framework, and as a mentor, how to approach the meetings with the mentee. And as Aodan kind of went through there was a lot of like check-in processes. Am I in like red to blue, or I'm in blue already? So, and yeah, I suppose particular discussions with mentees meant that I had to learn how to listen more and talk less. And I guess as a mentor, we're not there to provide solutions. We're there to, I suppose, open up the mentee to possibilities that are already there in front of them. And we're just kind of showing them the way rather than providing anything new or novel. Like I said, it really does train you to like listen more, and then let the mentee run the session is another one that I kind of picked up as well. So when they're talking, just asking open questions and making a lot of inquiries, making them comfortable, maybe add some humor to kind of keep the conversation going. And I always kind of recognize that the meeting starts in one way, but kind of finishes completely unexpected in a way, in a really good way. Somebody can come to the, I suppose, the mentoring session quite distracted or, you know, have a lot on their mind. And then when they talk it through with somebody like a mentor who's willing to listen and then add some, I suppose, insights and ask leading questions, that maybe the problem isn't as big as they originally thought. So a lot of tools that we went through on the 12 weeks on the course, and I brought them into the sessions all the way through. Like I said, it's a really good framework to kind of understand, like, okay, to recognize what can be useful in certain situations. The one I liked was the control circles. That helped a mentee quite a bit. So what's in their control, what they can influence, and what they can't control. Another one that I've used also is the SCARF model. So there's quite a few you can kind of pick from, and it's nice to actually go through your notes again and see what's applicable. The one thing I would say as a mentor, you don't always have you know, you can't expect it to go perfect, but again, it's like learning as you go. And the one thing that I always do is I kind of reflect afterwards and maybe take a couple of notes, check in with the mentee at the end of the session. You know, did we actually achieve what we wanted to achieve here? And like I said, it's kind of completely up to the mentee to schedule meetings. And then if there's things that they're working on, goals, is completely up to the mentee to drive those with the, I guess, the assistance of a support of the mentor. I really enjoy the course. As you can see, I'm here today. So I would say that if you're interested at all, or you have, you know, the best thing we can do is to support people around us. And if you kind of get a kick out of that, I would say it's worth getting involved in this. And again, it's nice to have the accreditation at the end. I also registered for EMCC, so I'm happy enough to continue my journey and to see what I can learn from others who have been in the field a lot longer than me, and also in the network as well. All right, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Lorraine, and I'll come back to you with some questions. And as I say, if anyone listening today has any questions, please put them into the chat and we'll ask once we go into the panel session. So Adrian Hogan, I'm going to hand over to yourself now as Apprenticeship Programme Coordinator at J&J Vision Care. It would be great for us to understand your reasoning for going on to this programme and also what you got from it.
Thank you, Anne. Apologies for the lack of visuals, but hopefully what I say is a more important part anyway. So to give context to why I wanted to do mentoring or do a mentoring course initially, I might give some context to that. So we have a number of engineering apprenticeships here in Johnson & Johnson Vision Care, whereby people can get an engineering qualification through apprenticeship rather than full-time college education. So our apprentices, they obviously do all the academic work, they go to college, but they also spend a significant amount of time here with us in industry, working in different areas, in different departments, primarily based in operations. So I'm a mentor to the apprentices that are completing those programs, and that's what I do. So I suppose I was asking myself a few questions when I started as a mentor to the apprentices. First of all, I was conscious of the fact that the company have great structures in place and great supports in place for the apprentices. I was also conscious of the fact that I had spent a lot of time here in the company. I've been here almost 30 years. So I understood the different departments. I understood the roles the apprentices were currently working in. And I also understood the roles that they hopefully can progress and work in the future. But I suppose the question I kept coming back to for myself personally was every other role, or pretty much every other role I had in my career, I had completed a lot of formal training and achieved formal qualifications to allow me to fill those roles and do those roles to the best of my ability. And I suppose I felt if I was going to be mentoring people and advising people on their current career and future career paths, I felt that I wanted to get a formal qualification and complete a lot of formal training on specifically being a mentor, so that I knew I was doing the best I could as a mentor and doing the best I could by my mentees, the apprentices. So that was my context for actually looking for a mentoring program initially. So I spotted this course, did my research, looked at the content, looked at the structure, and it seemed to tick all the boxes for me. So I did the course and really enjoyed the course, I have to say. The blend of online and in person for me worked really well. Same as the previous speakers, Narayan said, for me, I suppose the in-person really enjoyed that. Probably a generational thing. I'm definitely more comfortable in person than online, right? But that's not to say that I didn't get an awful lot out of the online training. The online training for me made it much more achievable from a time perspective to cover all the content that I wanted to cover. And it was also really easy afterwards. If I was unsure of anything that was covered or I wanted to clarify anything, we were given access to everything online, online content, and I could go back and I could review everything we covered, so the flip charts and the slides and recorded sessions, and that was all great. And I could also reach out to Aodan and Rory for clarification if I wanted to. So that was all good. Really, really enjoyed the in-person sessions. For me, that was the highlight. I was fearful it would be like classroom environment, was far from it. In fairness, so Aodan and Rory, it wasn't like they were standing at the top of the classroom with their PowerPoints and telling us specifically how to be mentors. They gave us the content, they gave us the tools, and then both themselves and we as a group were able to come up with real life scenarios that we had encountered and looked at how we could use the content and how we could use the new tools we were learning to see, well, if those issues came again, would we deal with them in the same way, or could we go about it, in a better manner? Found that really enjoyable, great learning environment. As a result of the environment, I think we gelled really well as a team. Mary was there as well, so I think we learned from one another as well as learning from the lads, and that's still going on. Still message over and back. I have one of the alumni that I do message relatively regularly and communicate that way. So I suppose for me specifically, I feel now that I have a good number of new tools that I can use as a mentor. I'm not just relying on my experience and my personal values. I now have formal training in being a mentor. I have a formal qualification. And for me, I just feel that can only be a benefit to me. It can only be a benefit to the program. And more importantly, it has to be a benefit to my mentees, the apprentices. So for me, really enjoyed the course and couldn't recommend it enough. That's me.
Adrian, thank you so much. That is really great to hear. And actually, I'm just going to forewarn, I suppose, the industry people, if you could take one when I go to Q&A, myself and Aodan will go to Q&A, is just if there was one sort of specific from the program that, comes back to you and you've really felt has supported you now that you wouldn't have had before, it would be great to think of that. And that's before I hand over to Mary Devery, Principal Quality Consultant with Aztec Medical. Thank you, Mary, for being here this morning, and love to hear your thoughts on the programme.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, my name is Mary Devery. I work for Aztec Medical. We're a consultancy company that supports the full medical device product lifecycle in the areas of regulatory affairs, design assurance, quality assurance, and clinical compliance. We support clients from high potential innovator startups to more mature multinationals and in between. So as you already said, and I head up the quality function there. I support functional leaders. I help ensure the business meets regulatory requirements and that they stay compliant with the standards and the regulations. So as part of that work, I work in a consultative and engaging way. I focus on finding practical solutions and empowering teams and clients to deliver at their best. So this same approach is carried through into mentoring. It's about listening, guiding, and supporting others to grow in their confidence and capabilities. And again, the important thing here is creating a safe space for them to develop their own ideas and solutions. So again, I'm going to re-emphasize some of the similar messages that you've already heard from Lorraine and Aidan. So the value for me from this course was that it really concentrated a lot on active listening. And I do know that my mentee is on the line. And again, something that I am very quick to do and something that I have to keep and monitor myself. And I know my team heard me at this on the sessions. I need to listen more. I tried very quickly to jump to be a problem solver. So what I want to do is shift from a problem solver to facilitating thinking. I want to give the mentee an opportunity for them to kind of come up with their ideas. Again, I value some of the structured approach they gave, looking at different questioning techniques, different ways that you could allow flexibility. But above all, for me, it was the not jumping in, to kind of just get it done, move on. It was like, listen to what, as part of the contract, what the mentee wants out of the session. And I think that was really important for me. So being able to kind of learn and understand this. Previously, I would have done, in my years, I would have done a lot of mentoring, but it was very informal. So again, the approach now is to be more structured, to kind of become a facilitator of growth, to ask open-ended questions. And again, with my mentees, I'd like to kind of encourage self-reflection. And again, the important thing is that safe space for the mentee to find their own solution. Stop jumping in to direct them, give them a chance, allow them to kind of come up with a solution to enable them to grow. Again, going back, similar to Lorraine and Aidan, the course I would definitely recommend. It was very practical, relevant. There was a bit of messing going on. I won't say by who, but there was some messing going on. But all aside, we actually built some very good relationships. We felt free to challenge each other. There was real life opportunities to kind of say, how can we facilitate growth? How can we transform and support mentees in a more meaningful and impactful way? And I think, again, going back to what Aidan said, the blend of theory and practical framework, and then even taking on board your prior learning, made it valuable for everyone to develop their mentoring skills and definitely enabled us to foster our professional growth. So that's my input.
Mary, thank you so much. And that's great. And a bit of messing is always very important to have as well as part of it all. So, but actually, what I love there is your line, facilitation of growth, and to stop jumping in. And I think we've all been in the position where you're kind of going, I know how to fix this. But actually, it's the facilitation of growth, I think, is a really key part of it. So, Aodan, I know you're going to join me on this, but I suppose I'd like to go around and I'm conscious of time as well, that we just want to have our three industry speakers and really to give those piece of insight where there was something specifically that the program, you know, and Mary, I think you've touched on it really clearly. It's that jumping in, and it's, you know, about staying present, not sorting out the problems for people. But Lorraine, I'm going to ask yourself first to just give us that kind of insight where, you know, you've talked about Boston Scientific and having training programs, and, you know, and an awful lot of companies have their own training programs in place. But that piece where you're going out, you're meeting other people, the whole sort of peer network, but also the insights you got from this program that helped you. I'd just like to get a sense of that.
Yeah, all right, thanks, Anne. I would say overall, Anne, it was the structure really on how to coordinate a really good meeting with the mentor and the mentee. Like usually people have like 30-minute slot, that's it. You're coming with an issue, and then, well, the mentee is coming with something that they need help with, obviously. But with the tools that were picked up during the course, it made for like a very effective meeting. You know, you can kind of, there's a start, there's a problem, there's a middle, and then there's an end, and then there's checking in with the mentee, and then kind of going, okay, I think that was an effective meeting. I think, like as Anne would have said before, or Mary would have said before, was that I maybe would have gone in to try and solve the problem. Now I kind of see that's not the role of the mentor. And that was probably a big one, really.
Okay, that's great. And it's that you've been able to take the framework and apply it then within your job, and seeing outcomes obviously that have benefited both yourself and the mentee to be able to get through the process. Okay, and that's great to hear. Adrian, I'd like to hear from yourself, and your role is slightly different in that it's within, but it's still it's very much. And I know because we're involved in the apprenticeship programs as well, the role of a mentor in the apprenticeship side of it, particularly because people are off site for 15 weeks, and that mentorship piece is really important in that role as well. So to just kind of maybe give us an idea of a time where you've seen, and with 30 years experience as well, you do kind of think to yourself, well, I think I know everything, but you know, I know we never do, and we're always learning. So I think it's important to just get a sense of that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so I suppose it's one of the pitfalls maybe of being in my position, almost the amount of experience that I have, and also the fact that I'm coordinating the program, or helping to coordinate the program for the apprentices. So I was probably guilty of having meetings with my apprentices, and I was the person bringing the agenda because I knew the deadlines. I knew the metrics they had to hit. I knew the targets they needed to hit and when, you know. So it was very easy for me to approach meetings with that perspective. I'm meeting my mentees to tell them what we need to do next. And I took a big learning from that. Obviously, as some of my role, I need to do some of that. But more importantly, and Mary touched on it earlier, I would have always considered myself to be a good listener. But I realized after attending the course, it's not enough. It's not good enough to be a good listener. You need to be a very good listener, a very active listener. So 100%, I've improved an awful lot in that area, right? And again, I suppose we have a lot of apprentices, and we have a lot of young apprentices. So for me personally, one of the differences to some other people is, if I tell some of my apprentices I'm going to set a half an hour and an hour aside to meet with those apprentices, their eyes could start to glaze over after 10 or 15 minutes. You know, time is different to younger people than it is to me. So having the tools to structure the meeting, like Lorraine said, in advance, they're coming to meet me and they've already had a little bit of a structure. They know what they want to talk to me about. And now it's not just me bringing my agenda to the meeting. And then for me, just look, Aodan touched on it with the red-blue concept. I find that very useful. I'm interested in that stuff anyway, right? But more and more, I think we all picture mentoring as us using our experience to deliver what the apprentice needs to do. But for me personally, it's actually not always the technical stuff. That's not the important stuff. It's personal issues that might come to you with stuff, things that are going on in their lives. It's all very easy when mentoring is going really well, but what do you do when it's not going really well. So just having the tools, obviously the company here have brilliant structures, brilliant supports, and I can guide them that direction. But for me personally, to deal with some of that stuff in the moment, I found all that very useful.
Oh, that's absolutely so insightful to hear. And it's just even the whole structure of the meeting and not just going with your own agenda, Adrian. I think that's absolutely just key insights. And Mary, I'm going to make yours maybe a little bit more specific because you've given it away that your mentee is on the call. So with regards to that, do you go to them for feedback on the sessions now, just to, that you have with your mentee to just understand how it's working for them then? And is that something that has come out of the program for you?
Absolutely. My mentee is not afraid to come back and actually give me that truthful feedback. So I think it's about building that trust and, as I said, safe environment. So, again, when you start the contract with your mentee, it takes a number of sessions to build that. And again, Aodan had on his slide that the process is driven by the mentor, but the content is driven by the mentee.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's important that I understand clearly what the mentee wants to get out of the session, not what I want to get out. And again, going back to what Aodan said, we're all very much about, we've come together here, this is what I want, I've got very little time, let's have a look at what we want. But now we structure it, we're able to come and talk about it afterwards and send, did that work for you? And my mentee has said to me, no, it hasn't, Mary. To be fair, you kind of pushed me on. You were looking to get this, and I have to go back and reflect and say, okay, fair play to you. Let's have a look at that the next time, and we'll come back. And each time it's learning for both of us. So I also am learning because I am very much about getting something done. Just do it. That has been a big shift in me to kind of do more of that listening, that active listening, and to not fully take over and allow the mentee time for them to grow, for them to come up with their solutions, listen and provide guidance, but not a telling. So that would be the approach and the learning that I've taken from this.
Thanks, Mary. That's great. And Aodan, I'm going to hand over to yourself now to just come in with the last questions. And if we have anything on the chat, don't think there's anything there at the moment. So Aodan, if you'd like to just come in and talk to our panel.
Super. Yeah, thanks very much, Anne. Actually, there's been multiple questions in the Q&A section there. I've been kind of tapping away with some answers, but I just want to cover a few quick things just to summarize some of the questions that have come in from attendees.
Okay.
First is, where do the in-person sessions take place? So that's at the Ballycastine Golf Resort in Limerick Junction, County Tip. Again, it's a popular venue for students, but it's also kind of in between. If there's most places in the country or you can get there within 60 to 90 minutes. Eamon Kotz had a very interesting question, actually, that our alumni may like to come in on, was outside the scheduled training times, how many additional hours over the period of the program do trainees allocate to get the best out of the program? So before the guys jump in, just to one piece from our perspective is that there are, we call them assignments. There is work to be done. Obviously, you're working towards getting an accreditation. There is work to be done in between the sessions, but we, as much as possible, try to align those with the mentoring conversations that you're having to do anyway. So we're not creating homework for the sake of it. It's all very much aligned and trying to be as time efficient as we can. But one of the guys might have an angle on Eamon's question, which was, to get the best out of the program, how much additional hours are required?
Look, I suppose I'll give my perspective on that maybe. So did I log all the hours I was putting into it? No, I didn't. But I definitely didn't find it it wasn't onerous. A lot of the stuff we were covering, well, I was doing it anyway, right? And the assignments that we were given definitely aligned with what I wanted to train on anyway, and a lot of the actions that was taking place anyway. So to answer the person as best I can that asked the question, was it easily possible to do the course? I'm not going to say easy, but it certainly was achievable. The balance of the in-person and the online made that much easier to do, and the fact that I still have access to the content to be able to go back in, and when I had time I was able to review that content and clarify the individual issues that I wanted clarification on. It was one of the fears I had, as Anne said earlier on, we're all very busy, you know what I mean, and would I have the time? I just thought the structure of the program made it very feasible to cover all the content. So for me, it was quite achievable.
Super. Thanks, Adrian. Oh, there's another good question here from Owen Hayes. Owen asks, do the recognition for prior learning, the so-called RPL hours, have to come from the medtech sector specifically, or can they come from other sectors outside of work? So the good news is they can. So it is possible to get credit for your accreditation application from mentoring work outside of your so-called day job, and it doesn't have to be medtech only. There's no magic formula within the medtech industry for mentoring. It's mentoring in a structured way that can be, for the want of a better word, validated. Yes, so that we've seen that people have applied the experience that they've had over many years on that. Okay. I think there was just one other question in the Q&A section, and please, if people have them, please type them in. It was, how often is the program available? And our answer there is that we've run this program so far twice a year. So we are likely again in the end of January, start of February of 2026 to be launching a new cohort. But
and Aodan, I'll just come in on that one as well. So basically, we run the programs within the Skillnet down to the amount of demand we see. So we put the program, we make the program available, and if we see the demand, and we've already have some bookings on this program already, and confirmed. So this is really to give the information to people that this program will now be running, but we will run another one early in 2026. Sorry, nearly a year behind myself. But 2026. So yeah, there will be another one. And please always keep an eye on the Irish Medtech Skillnet website, because we post up when programs are available and how to book, and all of that will be confirmed for you that way as well. So yeah, thanks very much, Niamh. That's perfect. So there's the QR code as well to book onto the program. So I'd just like to really acknowledge everyone from industry. So Adrian, Lorraine, Mary, I really appreciate your time here this morning. Thanks to Edelia Learning and to Niamh as well for all the coordination of today. I hope people got benefit out of today. And I certainly did. I find it's really important for us as well, to put in what I say, we propose these programs 2 and 3 years earlier, and to see then the benefit for the companies really coming out of this is really important for us, because it actually says, okay, what you're doing is worth doing. And that's important to hear too. And mentorship, I think, is important for all companies. It's for everyone within the company, no matter what level you are or how experienced you are. I think that came clear out of today's session. So I'd like to thank everyone for this morning and close the session today. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks very much, Anne.
Thank
and
you.
I just want
Thank
to
you.
finish there to say we will have a recording available on our YouTube channel, and we will be sharing that on our socials, and I'll also send an email after this following up with our attendees with the recording also. If you have any questions, my email is in the chat there. So please, if there's anything else that you think of after the session, send me an email and I'll pass it on to our speakers. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks,
folks.
Niamh. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.